There is so much speculation out there of what happened to Ken Roczen, and is he okay? His wife posted that he is going to be just fine, but what does that mean in the terminology of fine? You know what I think? I think fine means frustrated, irritated, nervous, and emotional. So for that, I think Kenny is exactly fine. There's other people out there that are saying, hey, his Achilles must have snapped, because if we watch right here, boom! What does that look like to you? This looks as if we're seeing another Eli Tomac with the just range of motion here, but the difference is the inertia. He is going through the whoops. There is no hard impact force against him as far as landing. Therefore, the G-forces aren't quite as severe. I don't believe that happened, and we'll get into it, but look at this. Just gets kicked. That shock is boom, boom, boom. What really is going on is he says that, hey, I'm getting an MRI on Monday, which makes me believe that, hey, this is potentially a ACL, an MCL, some sort of a cartilage tear inside the knee. You see him hold the knee, and when he's definitely getting up, he's also limping. To me, that's not the Achilles. Yes, you would still limp for that matter. Watch as he's coming through here, and you can just see that he's got no compression whatsoever. It is just sheer spring. And he does a fantastic job of holding on to this bucking Bronco. I mean, with 9 whoops, does that equal 9 seconds? What if he have won big bucks if he was actually riding a bull? Oh, man, it's so gnarly to watch. As he jumps in, boom, blows up immediately. And from there, what is he supposed to do? He's normally going to jump in. But when you've got no dampening or compression, he just goes for it. He knew exactly what was wrong. But does he land and just slam on the brakes? It could have been worse. He could have endoed through the whoops. He actually rode out of the whoops, which is magnificent. Watch where he lands. Right here. Okay, so let's zoom in on this and watch that knee. How it's a quick, almost like got caught on a rut. His right leg lands and then instantly twists around. That is the side that is injured. So my conclusion is that it is something internal from what the MRI is going to show, and we're going to see an ACL, an MCL. He can ride with all those, but he's going to go slower, and he's going to keep his feet on the pegs, but that's the new riding style. From what I've heard is active ride makes these shocks, and they have had 4 or 5 of these suckers fail. There's a rider, Justin Starling, that has had a off start to the season because of the shocks blowing. And we've even seen some other instances that are out of Ken Roczen's control, like what happened at St. Louis after he landed on Jet Lawrence's bike and put a hole in the radiator. Here he jumps, and you get some radiator fluid touching the hot motorcycle. Woo! That is hot. He jumps off the motorcycle and lands back. This is unfortunate for somebody like Kenny, because you need to have faith in your equipment. And when your equipment is malfunctioning, it's not a good look on the team. It's not a good look on the engineers. It's not a good look on the manufacturers that make the parts, and even the people that aren't involved with it that are just attached to Suzuki. He has also had issues with this bike where he ends up killing the motorcycle with a minute to go in the heat race, and he has to kickstart it again. Granted, he kickstarts it pretty darn quick. 1 kick, boom, and he's off. However, these bikes with the electronics they have on them really shouldn't die. These guys are slamming on the brakes, and that is a good segue to what happened to Chase Sexton here. We saw riders in the main event that started hucking these 2 singles that really weren't meant to be doubles. Oh, and Sexton actually soaks that up pretty good, where you would have thought that that bike could have just instantly endoed over him, and it would have been way worse than him just knocking the wind out of himself, potentially breaking some ribs and landing on his head there. That honestly was one of the better case scenarios for this. But I've heard multiple things. I've heard from rumors saying that there was a rock from Jason Anderson's bike that hit the throttle body that caused him to whiskey throttle. And I've also heard that these Austrian motorcycles have been prone to cut out, and therefore that motorcycle cut out on the lip of the jump, and Sexton decided to give it some gas to wake the bike up, and whiskey throttled, over jumped, and wasn't actually going for that massive double Or could he have simply just made a mistake and decided to, hey, you know what? I'm going to go for it in the main event here, and then at the last second decide nope, and then grab a handful of gas to be like, yeah, I'm going to go for it. No, to me, with this air wheelie, looks like there was potentially a bike malfunction, and he's honestly lost a race because of the bike cutting out on him where it was dying. And I believe he let Cooper Webb win because that KTM died on him. Is this just another instance? Yeah, it worked out better a few races ago when it was just a corner that the motorcycle died, but it died a few times during that race. And here, this was dangerous where it died on the lip of a jump. Scary. I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. Hey, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. I just passed 52,000 subscribers. The goal is to get to 60, especially if you want more sick-ass analysis. And you could stop off, hit that join button if I am adding value in any way, shape, or form. CRASH-Ville had a lot of cross-jumping going on. Here's the heat race. Got Jordan Smith cross-jumping Marchbanks. And Marchbanks is, honestly, he's kind of jumping into Smith as well. But Smith is trying to get out of the way of Ryder D because he's jumping to the side of him, which cuts in front of Marchbanks. And he has nowhere to go but just hard on the ground. And this is what caused the red flag incident. Logan Letzel, who is a privateer rider, that unfortunately took out Cameron Mcadoo during qualifying, where it was just a simple, they got together. Unfortunately, Mcadoo, rumors is he's got a broken leg, and now he potentially has a separated shoulder, and potentially even worse than that, could be a broken scapula. We won't know. He's getting checked out this week as well. I haven't heard that he's getting an MRI where Roczen is. But again, this is just another racing incident. You've got Logan jumping out of the rut. He's in a fast lap. This is a privateer that's trying to get into a qualifying position. There's been a lot of hate on social media, and it was cool to see Cameron Mcadoo actually say, hey, following my post, I've seen lots of negativity for Logan. Dirt bikes can be dangerous, and it was a wrong place, wrong time moment. It's a slick turn. They drifted wide. Nothing was planned. It's just, dude, that's what happens. And dude, Cameron is a standout individual for being able to do this stuff. And we know he's tough as nails because I've got to retract what I said during my live show. And by the way, appreciate all you guys that made it out for the live show on Saturday. We did fairly well for having you guys join in on the conversation. But if I fast forward to the main event, we will see a much different scenario where I thought Cameron was somewhat compromised from already being injured and racing. And for there, you're just not thinking as clearly. You're probably trying to be in a self-preservation moment. And usually we all know that type of mentality where you're like, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. It's the last lap. And then you end up cross-rutting and crashing, right? So you tend to go where you think. And that potentially is not the scenario that happened with Mcadoo. But here, these pro circuit guys that are leading the championships, they just ended up getting a side-by-side start next to each other where Kitchen is on the inside. He actually bumps into Mcadoo, but he doesn't take him out. He bumps him, and then he moves back into his lane, and you see him jump further to the inside, and Cameron is just holding his line. At the end of the section, Levi ends up trying to jump more to the inside and actually runs into the back of Cameron, causing the crash. Whether this was Levi trying to get out of the rut that's landing here, and just because it's a corner, that's how they're set up, but it just looks as if Cameron jumps a little bit to the outside because he wants to haul butt, and Levi's trying to jump to the inside. So it's really, again, nobody's fault here. Maybe if we wanted to say Levi could have potentially held his line a little bit more and gone wider, but I mean, it's a he said, she said, coulda, woulda, shoulda type scenario, which is just unfortunate. And if we look at this from another angle, freaking Levi, as he falls down, he ends up getting run over by Max Anstine on the head. And thankfully, from what I have heard on the internet, is he just has some broken ribs, but he was able to come back to, I believe, 14th, which is crazy from being on the track for a long time. But here, the first mistake he makes is he overjumps that double. And I think that's what creates the tendency for him to try to move to the inside. Ouch. Just, I hate to see that. Hate to see all of this going on. But let me know in the comments below. Until next time, guys, stay tuned for more analysis. Ba-ra-da-da-da-da.